Are you looking for different ways to improve your memory and retention? In this video, I'm going to talk about a really cool strategy called chunking and how you can use it for studying or for work, whatever you're trying to memorize. I'm Janice and you're watching Sharp Cookie. On this channel, we cover a lot of different topics related to learning, studying, and problem solving. I post new videos every week, so please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified. So a little background on myself. I'm a tutor. I've had hundreds of students, and memory is so huge, especially if you're in school. Once you hit work, there's not as many things to memorize. In the beginning, yes, but as you become better and better at whatever your career is, there's typically less to memorize. But if you're in school, it feels like just this endless stream of memorizing, which is why I found different techniques that work for me and also work for my students. And in this one, we're going to cover one of the big ones. And you may even be doing this in your studying and you don't even know you're doing it because it's so common. In fact, we use it a lot in our everyday lives. For example, phone numbers. It's really hard to remember just a string of numbers, but when we chunk it, meaning we break it up, right? It's 3 numbers, then 3 numbers, then 4 numbers. It's a lot easier to remember. Now, this video is part of a whole series that I'm doing on memory. So if this is a topic you're interested in, please check out some of those other memory videos, especially the one on the memory palace technique. I think you'll find that one really interesting. Now, before I get into how you can use this technique for different types of studying or memorizing that you're doing, I want to just let you know that chunking is specifically for short-term memory. So it's when you want to just memorize a few things and keep them in your mind for a short period of time, typically. Now, without any techniques at all, your short-term memory can only hold about, as an adult, 7 units. So that could be 7 items on a shopping list, that could be 7 digits, that could be 7 letters, 7 words. So just roughly, researchers have found you can hold about 7 things in your short-term memory. Okay, now chunking is cool because it's a hack around what we normally would be able to remember without using a hack. So again, normally 7 units, sometimes even only 4 units. It's pretty small, and we can only usually hold it for about 18 seconds. So this hack works well, and it's very simple. We just group information together logically, so it's easier for us to remember. So again, with phone numbers, when you have the area code separated out, it has more meaning. So when I see 646, I think of New York. So it has some other meaning for me. So that number's already in my mind, 646. I don't have to think deeply about it. So again, when we chunk, we group information based on knowledge we already have, information we already have. So it's not just a random string of numbers or items in a list. Another time we commonly use chunking is with spelling and while we're reading. We like to chunk words up, and sometimes we don't realize we're doing it. A lot of times we're chunking based on syllables or prefixes and suffixes. So like running would be run, ing, and we broke up that word into run and ing. So we do this all the time when we're reading. If you've ever been in a spelling bee, usually you have to memorize a list of prefixes and suffixes. Why? Because it gives you a baseline for then memorizing the spelling of a lot of other words because they repeat the same prefixes and suffixes over and over and over again. So any spelling bee champions out there, you've been doing a lot of chunking already without realizing it. And you're probably also chunking by language. So you chunked in your mind what the Latin prefixes were and the Greek prefixes and so forth. So that's another way that we're chunking things and information and then applying meaning to them. So something called acrostics is another type of chunking method, and we've all used this. For example, Please Forgive My Dear Aunt Sally or Roy G. Biv. These are like really common ways we memorize things. I remember when I was learning piano and I had to memorize the notes, they would, I would think of all these little acrostics to help me remember all the notes. Before I get into the 4 steps of chunking, I'm curious to know, how do you use chunking in daily life? So now that I gave you a few examples, can you think of times that perhaps you were using chunking and didn't even realize it? So let me know in the comments. All right, the 4 steps to chunking. Step number 1, break down the information, the list, the group into smaller chunks. So that's why we get the name chunking. Break it into chunks. Number 2, identify similarities and patterns. Where does it make sense to group the information together? And I'll give you an example of this. Step 3, organize the information. And step 4, group the information into manageable units. I'm going to give you some real life examples, but first I'm going to give you an example that I just made up. I basically went on my keyboard and typed out a list of random letters and thought about how if I had to memorize this random list of letters, would chunk it and memorize it. Okay, so I'm going to put on the screen, the letters are W, C, H, O, G, M, S, B, C, U. Okay, so again, I just closed my eyes and randomly typed letters, and then I thought, okay, let me put myself to the test. Can I memorize this using chunking? So first, I broke it out into 4 chunks and 4 sections. So I put the WC together, the HOG, the MSB, and the CU. Now for me, WC, I've done a lot of traveling, and in a lot of countries, they don't call it the bathroom or the restroom, they call it the WC, the water closet. So to me, again, I've chunked it based on knowledge that I already have that already has meaning to me. So WC already has meaning to me, so I chunked that together. The next section I chunked together was HOG because it spells out hog, which is an actual word. Again, something easy to remember. So now instead of this random list, I'm thinking WC, HOG. I already have 5 letters memorized really easily. The next grouping I chose was MSB because these are the initials of the business school that I went to. So that again, we've all gone to school and had to memorize certain acronyms in our school and workplace. So MSB will be ingrained in my brain forever since it's my business school. So now I have WC, HOG, MSB, and the last 2 letters are CU. And for me, I think of that as see you later, and that would be perfect because it ends with CU. So I've just been able to memorize a really long string of letters just by chunking them and adding meaning. So WC, HOG, MSB, CU. Now, when you're studying, I've talked about outlining in some of my other videos. I know I talk about it in the visual learner study tips. So if you're a visual learner, outlining is perfect for you. But outlining is great for everyone because it's a natural chunking method. When you outline, you're chunking information based on what chapter it's in, what other information is related to it, and you're grouping those facts together. And again, it's in a visual way, so if you're a visual learner, it helps. But outlining are just natural ways that we already do chunking. I'm going to give you one other example. This one is, let's say I need to memorize all the countries in the world. This would be my strategy, okay? I would start by chunking based on, again, patterns, similarities, and logic. And the more patterns and logic you have in your system, the easier it will be to memorize. And each person has a different knowledge base that they're working with, so the chunking will be different, okay? So in this example, I would start by breaking out in chunks according to continent. And then once I did that, it would depend on where my knowledge is. So if I have a strong base in history, I might then group countries further and categorize them further based on common shared histories. So for example, maybe former Soviet Union countries, I would sort of group those together in my mind. Or you can group together by common geographic sections. So Western Europe, Southern Europe, Northern Europe, Nordic countries, and group them together by geography. Or you might want to group them based on something else, like whether they're islands or peninsulas, group them together that way. Or perhaps landmass. So you can sort of group them by, okay, let me memorize the large countries on that continent first, and then the medium-sized countries, and then the small countries. Or you could chunk them based on common language. So this depends again on what your knowledge base is, where your logic is, and what's easiest for you to remember. So maybe you memorize all the coastal countries, then you memorize the landlocked countries. Whatever you do, find a system that's logical, and then continue and break them down into smaller and smaller and smaller chunks. So that's how I would use chunking strategy if I had to memorize countries as an example. So I hope this helped you. Try exploring this strategy next time you have to memorize something. So maybe it's a list of vocab words in a foreign language. Group them by, okay, these are types of clothes, these are types of food, these are the names of different countries, and then group them that way. So give it a try, Let me know how it works in the comments for you. That's all I have for today. Please give me a like if you found this video helpful. If you're interested in virtual tutoring, send me an email at hellosharpcookie@gmail.com. And then there's a couple links in the description that you guys should check out. One is to sign up for my newsletter where I give different tips and advice. And the other one that I don't put on YouTube, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. The other tip is I have a free puzzle book that you can get. So sign up for that. It's a PDF. It'll come to your inbox, and you can try out different puzzles that I've created that are just fun, like brain work to do in your free time. All right, that's all I have for today. Please check out my other videos. Again, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I will love to see you next week at the next video. I'm Janice. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.